of the Allied Expeditionary Force. You are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. You will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well trained, well equipped, and battle hardened. He will fight savagely. Has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory.
It might get loud. It might light a fire within you. It's all hands on deck. Now, for your listening pleasure, 94.9 News Now presents Mean Chet Martin, the Long Island Redneck Brian Bro, and fearless C.V. Burton. This is Freedom on Deck.
Oh, yes, it is. FOD in the house. Mean Chet Martin, joined by the Long Island Redneck Brian Bro.
Ready to get it on. Let's do it.
And on the opposite corner, the fearless one himself, C.V. Burton.
We're here. No fear. Get used to it.
What you heard was President Dwight D. Eisenhower the morning of the invasion, where those brave men stormed the beaches of Normandy and spilled their blood. Man, you know, and I want to ask you guys this. We did a memorial show on the podcast on Friday night, which was a good showing. A lot of listeners. I hope everybody enjoyed it. FOD Overdrives, 9 p.m., right on FreedomOnDeck.com or Facebook. You can listen every Friday. But putting things into perspective, and Lee Elsey talked about this when he hosted for Wayne Allen Root this past week. Could we have done now what we did then? Could we defeat the Nazis now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What do you think?
Yes and no. I mean, it depends on, you know, who we send out there. I don't know if we... Actually, I don't think we have the will. I don't think our country has the will yet.
It's tough. You know, it's tough because when you're making that comparison, you're talking about now our military is, you know, mighty and huge. It's bigger than it's ever been before. So but I'm talking about the perspective of what we were then when they were drafting kids, sending those kids in on those amphibious vehicles, right?
Well, I will.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I will agree with CV on one thing. Pride in your nation, in your community, in your state, in your town, city, whatever you know, wherever you were, in those days. I mean, was to the core. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, talk of going against your nation or any of that nonsense was communist. You know, that was treason. People were very proud to be Americans then. Today, not so much.
Yeah, but our volunteers are the real thing. They are determined. They are great.
Yeah, but
if we don't have enough.
Yeah, but the point is that if that type of thing happened today, we would obviously have to reenact a draft.
Right.
And you're drafting Antifa scumbags.
Yeah. who will probably fire on their own men.
Who would probably shoot themselves in the face.
Well, let's be clear, though. There are plenty of millennials that do enlist in the military, and they're the finest that we have. They're not all Antifa.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm saying
saying
those type of people would be getting drafted. They would be probably working against us on the battlefield.
Well, guys, I do want to get into the topic because, we did a whole podcast on that. So I do want to stray away. So Mexico has deployed military to curb migration and reportedly has offered major concessions as Trump threatened with tariffs. You see? And the left stream media right now and the leftists such as Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are up in arms. They're saying it was a bully tactic by the president in order to
save our country,
force Mexico into keeping the migrants that need assistance into entering our country.
Good, then let them get assistance from Mexico.
They're so upset because their voting bloc is being kept out of the country now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
This was a genius move, and everybody doubted that this man could pull this off, and he has.
I don't understand why anybody doubts the man. I mean, he has spent the last 50 years, 40 years of his life making deals.
Yeah.
Hello?
And they said that they will not be sending asylum seekers through the southern border anymore. Now, we have to wait and see, right? I mean, the results are going to breed what happens next, CV.
The law is that if you're seeking asylum, you have to seek it in the first country you step foot in.
Correct.
So it's illegal for them to travel all the way through Mexico, come all the way up to our border and say, we're seeking asylum with you. Why? Because you have a better economy and the cartel is not in control of your government. Actually, the cartel is in control of our government. I think the Democrats and the Rhinos and the Business Roundtable and the Koch brothers and all that and K Street, I think they're all in bed with the cartels. How do you like that? The stock market didn't like the tariffs on Mexico. And they just want the borders open. They just want the invasion to continue.
Absolutely. It's big money, and it's big money for Catholic charities. It's they do make a bundle off of this, but it's destroying our country. Now, Brian, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi chided the president Saturday for his method, saying that his threat of tariffs was unbecoming of a friendly country's treatment of a neighbor. Friendly?
Give me a break.
Didn't Mexico just some of their border patrol actually put guns up to our border patrol and held them on our side of the southern border? Didn't that happen?
They were on U.S. soil.
Nancy, that's friendly.
And listen, just because you're neighbors doesn't mean that you're. Listen, I'm friendly with my neighbors, but it doesn't mean I'm going to allow my neighbors to take advantage of me.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's what a ridiculous thing to say. It's so stupid.
Has Mexico been friendly to us? No.
We're neighbors, so I gotta put a gate in my fence that's in between our properties and give you the key.
Oh, and Chuckles the clown said now that the tariffs worked and the president got a deal, he can stop talking about illegal immigration.
An idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, just stop.
Yeah.
No more wall talk. That's what he's saying, right, guys? No more wall talk, Mr. President. No, we want the wall. The wall's coming. And it's starting to be funded by some outside interest. Look at what Steve Bannon did. He got a mile of wall put up in his own funds. And that's what needs to be done here. Some pro-American big money guys need to come in and start to erect more of that wall on the southern border.
I would love to see some of these steel companies get involved. I think you'd be putting steel workers to work, obviously. Putting this wall up. I think the steel companies would benefit, and I think it would be a great service to this country for these companies to do such.
Yeah.
Listen, if you love your country, if you love your family, you protect your family, right? Mm-hmm. You buy an alarm system, you put a fence around your house, you lock your doors, you might have a firearm in the house. Why? Because in case. It's the same thing. I look at the southern border wall, and to be honest with you, northern border wall. There's a lot of drugs and a lot of heroin that comes through Canada.
And a lot of ISIS.
Big time. You look at New Hampshire, they are decimated with opioid addiction and overdoses. Look at Connecticut. Look at New London. You know, it's not all coming up from Mexico. It does come through Canada too. And that idiot up there that they got running that show,
Turtle.
yeah, good old Turtle.
Turd Hole has really destroyed that.
Yeah,
country.
little Trudeau, or I like to call him Little Castro.
He does. He is.
He
Castro's
is Castro,
kid.
dude.
He is
Look
Castro's kid.
at Castro and look at him.
It's him.
It's well known that his mother was colluding with Castro.
Because she was canoodling with Castro.
She was noodling him.
she was canoodling Castro's noodle.
She was getting the noodle. You know, I mean, you know, so we also have to take a look at that. You know, Canada hasn't done us any favors. Let's put it that way.
No.
On the other hand, the cartel's drugs come through the southern border, move up through the United States, and go over into Canada.
Let me
Through
tell
the
you
United
something.
States too.
Do you think that if they can get it through the southern border, you don't think that they're sending boats and some of these submarines that they have up the coast and going into Canada first, Vancouver and all that other stuff? Come on.
I agree with you. I just think we should start with the southern border, and when that's finished,
Yep.
then let's start working on the north.
And work on the northern
border.
too.
And good fences make good neighbors.
That's right.
Like a good neighbor, Trump is there. Listen, we're going to have Matt Margolis on today's program. He's got a new book coming out. He works for PJ Media. And we also have Paul Sutliff coming on. He's a terrorist expert. You've heard him on here before. But come back, Biden Hyde Amendment. Biden turns his back, flip-flops. Come back to FOD. Yee-haw. I thought of flip-flopping now. I'm Joe Biden. I'm eating some crow. Hey. Joe Biden. It was just a week ago. He said, I'm sticking by the Hyde Amendment. And they caught him on camera. Older lady said, are you sticking by the Hyde Amendment? Oh, yeah, don't worry. Don't worry about it. Of course I am. Well, that didn't work. He had a reversal of opinion this week, which is not a reversal. That's called flip-flopping. Fox News, by the way. Mm-hmm. Love the way that Fox News reports on news. Have you noticed Fox News has gotten really bad?
In the last month, forget it.
Really bad. Really bad. The Hyde Amendment and regarding abortion funding was a surrender to the extremely radical wing of the Democrat Party. American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Schlapp argued Friday on Fox News with Sean Hannity. Biden said Thursday he could no longer support the amendment, which he had backed as recently as Wednesday, like I said, saying it makes a woman's right to an abortion dependent on someone's zip code. Listen, this Hyde Amendment is to prevent the taxpayer, like me, you, and CV, and our listeners, from funding abortions.
Which we do anyway.
Joe.
We give 500, what is it, 500 million?
Yes.
500 million a year to Planned Parenthood. So,
well, President Trump's trying to put an end to that. And you know what? There's a movement going on in this country with these abortion ban bills. Thank God. But this guy's pandering to the extreme right. CV, is this going to hurt his chances of becoming the nominee for the Democrat side of the aisle?
Absolutely. I don't think there's anybody left in the Democrat Party except for the crazy communist kind, because they all left the station on the Trump train and hollowed out the Democrat Party of all reasonable, rational people. So he has to pander to the nuts in his own party, because that's all that's left there. And there's not enough of them to vote him in as president. That's for sure.
Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I can't wait. It's not that long away. You know, today's the 9th, so we got like 20 days 20 days. No, 18 days. Sorry, 18 days. I think it's the 27th. Is the first Democratic debate.
Oh God.
And normally, I can't watch such a thing because I get so nauseous listening to all the
Pandering.
bull
Yeah.
that is spewing out of their mouths. But this is the one time where I think I'm actually going to enjoy to watch these things. You have all the idiots that they could round up, and they are going to have to unleash on each other. And it's going to be great, dude. I can't wait to listen to Biden argue with Kamala Harris about abortion rights. That's going to be great.
Well, there's not going to be 20. There's not going to be 20 people on the stage. You know, they've tightened up the rules.
Yeah, there's like, but there's
for qualifications.
But there's 14 that have all their ducks in a row. So there's going to be
All right.
14 up there, at least.
All right.
And that's if the other ones don't get it in time.
Is penis breath going to be there?
Yeah.
Swallows? No,
No,
not him. Not him.
That's the other penis breath.
No.
Oh, Swale.
Swale, whatever his name is there.
Swelly.
You know, the guy that he just looks like a penis breath. I'm not saying it because of his sexuality.
Oh, yeah. Swallows Willie.
Buttigieg will be there, right? Buttigieg?
Yeah.
Buttigieg?
But
What is this?
Butt plug.
President Buttigieg. I got a question.
Just butt plug for short.
That's gonna be
Butt plug.
that's gonna be the best press conferences ever.
President Buttigieg. No, I'm not drunk. I just can't say your name. God.
Have you been drinking? I was just.
It's the pandering of Biden that drives me insane. He was behind this for 30 years. Now all of a sudden, I've got a change of heart. Oh, Joe. Oh, Joe.
Well, and you know what the law also does is that law not only does it prevent the taxpayer from funding abortion, but what it also does is it gives the power to the states to legislate these laws for themselves.
Right.
And ultimately, that is how our constitutional republic, not democracy, our constitutional republic was formed. The states have the ultimate power to govern themselves. A state could tell the federal government where they could go and how to get there if they did so feel inclined. Now, there would be some consequences. They would lose federal funding and a whole myriad of other things. But ultimately, they could do that. And that's the point. Each state has the right to govern themselves. All these people that are losing their heads over Mississippi and Alabama and what was the other one? Georgia. And, it's like, give me a break.
Yeah.
They're exercising their right. Those people that live in that state get to decide for themselves. People in New York don't get to tell somebody in Nebraska how to live their life. And that's why the Electoral College is so important.
It's like this one unhinged rep from Minnesota, or not Minnesota, from Michigan. I was on Twitter and she said, if you don't like an abortion, don't have one. And I said, well, if you don't like guns, don't buy one. Any difference there?
Good point.
You know? It's simple.
Bazinga.
Bazing.
And then Biden blames the Republicans in the states by saying, your right to an abortion shouldn't depend on your zip code. The right for the taxpayers to pay for somebody's medical procedure, that's not a right. That's like the opposite of what our Constitution is all about. You don't have a right to an abortion or a right for our government to pay for your abortion.
The right for you to murder someone shouldn't depend on your zip code. What a stupid statement from him. He's a moron.
Yeah.
Absolutely sickening. But listen, guys, we got a good guest coming up. We've got Paul Sutliff. He's from Civilization Jihad Awareness. That's a show that he does. He's an author. He's an expert on terrorism, on jihadi terrorism. You're not going to want to miss this one. Come on back to Freedom on Deck. Welcome back to Freedom on Deck, 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk. You're rocking with the best. Make sure you go to FreedomOnDeck.com where you can check out everything we have to offer. You get your news there, daily updated news. You get featured articles from Lee Elsey, Julio Rivera, Alex Newman, myself, and of course the midweek podcast, or end of the week podcast, Friday nights, 9 p.m. live. FOD Overdrive, and it's doing big things. And you get to listen to our terrestrial backtracks that are every Sunday, and they're put up there every Monday by our good hard worker over here, Mr. CV Burton. But listen, go to freedomondeck.com, check it all out. Our guest for this segment is a regular to the program and an expert on Islamic terrorism and jihadist revolutionaries. He's the host of Civilization Jihad Awareness with Paul Sutliff on Blog Talk Radio, and he's a book author. He's got many good books. All you have to do is Google Paul Sutliff, and you'll find all his workings there. Mr. Paul Sutliff himself, welcome back to Freedom on Deck.
Thank you. It's nice to be back.
So I wanted to discuss the scandal involving a child bride at a radical Philadelphia mosque. According to the Clarion Intelligence Network, these underage marriages have been taking place for years. Paul, tell us a little about what these child brides in America, what is happening here? Is this a widespread problem throughout America right now, Paul?
It's probably a lot worse because under Islam, they have to, a good Muslim, a devout Muslim, I don't like the term radical because it's really a misnomer.
Okay.
People who are devout, they have to follow Islam. The Quran isn't enough for them. They have to have hadiths, which are the stories, and then you have to have the surahs, which are the biographies of Muhammad. And if you're going to be devout, you have to imitate Muhammad in every way. That means you have to imitate the way he went to the bathroom. You have to imitate Aisha talks about how he went to the bathroom. He squatted. He never,
Right.
he never, stood up to pee. I mean, they actually talk about this, and so a good devout Muslim has to do that. And if you think that's kind of funny, they actually have videos on YouTube of them, putting in squatting toilets. But
Right.
this whole thing about pedophilia. This is what we've got to call it. It's pedophilia. Their desire for pedophilia has to do with copying Muhammad in every way. So it's actually incorporated into Sharia. In fact, it's so much part of Sharia that no Islamic country will make a law against child marriage.
Right.
So in this country, there is probably tons of child marriage in the Muslim communities, and they're keeping it quiet because they know that if this happens here, there will be an uprising. It's happened against other communities that other, quote, churches, not Christian, of course, have done this and been caught. So they don't want that to be exposed. So it's the devout followers of the Muslim groups. Now, you're only hearing about Philadelphia because someone got caught, and they revealed in that article that people were coming from all over the country to marry children at that mosque.
Sick.
That's the one place they were offering it. Some people were coming from outside the country. Well, it's easier for people to go to another country and pick up a child bride. And this happens quite a lot also. They'll come back to the country calling them adopted children on a passport. But this is what's happening, and it's very real, very sad too. Let me read you a part of. This is just a few things out of Sharia. This comes from Reliance the Traveler, E10.3. So you'll understand that it's written right into Sharia.
Right.
It says this is about a bath a woman has to take. It says when a woman has been made love to or performs a perfunctory bath, which is after she has to make herself clean, and the male sperm afterwards leaves her vagina, then she must repeat the ghusl if two conditions exist. A, that she is not a child. Are you catching this?
Yes.
They're talking about sex with a child
Yes.
as part of, so This is written into it in a normal part of Islam. It's not unusual. This is the sad truth that pedophilia is part of Islam. It's something that's hidden. A lot of things are hidden in what Islam teaches and believes because they don't want us to know, because if we did, we would think of it as barbarianism or paganism. We would not see it as a religion of peace. Maybe peace is, but this is the purpose behind hiding all this. And they have a lot of anti-Semitism in there too, which is again, it's ingrained and taught. So we have the pedophilia, which is hidden, very hidden, and probably I don't know how many mosques in America are actually practicing this, and it's hard to tell because you want to keep those things silent.
Yeah.
And in Islam, you're allowed to lie to the non-believers. There's 5 words, 5 Arabic words that have to do with lying to non-believers.
Taqiyya.
Taqiyya is one of them. Murda is there's others.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal here is for the Muslims to, until they're in the majority, until they feel strong enough to rise up, they have to keep silent about certain things they practice.
Paul, since you said until they're in the majority, I want to play this audio, and you actually sent it to me, and this is in Canada, and it's a Muslim man talking to somebody on the street. I'm not sure who the other gentleman is, but they're talking about, we're going to outbreed you, and Sharia law will be in place very soon here. Let me just play this for the audience, and you can comment right after.
Okay, so would you like to see Sharia law in Canada replace Canadian law?
At some point it will. You know, because we have families, we are making babies. You're not. Your population is going down the slump, right?
Yeah.
By 2060, Muslims will be the biggest religious group the world over.
Right.
What are you going to do then?
Actually,
are you going to oppose Sharia even then?
Yeah, so Paul, what he's saying there, and this is in Canada, like I said, he says we're outbreeding you, and you're not populating, Paul. He actually is speaking the truth, though, isn't he?
Yes, and it's being discussed. It's interesting because I catch a lot of cabs. I mean, not cabs these days, but Ubers these days.
Mm-hmm.
And when I run into a Muslim every once in a while, we'll get into this discussion about Islamization of Europe, and they use interest. It's interesting because I know who's more Sharia compliant by the terminology, and they'll talk about how Europeans are old. They're killing themselves off by not breeding enough. So they're going to outbreed them.
Yes.
They refer, when you start talking to Muslims and they start referring to the European race as old, they're talking about outbreeding them by outpopulating in many different ways. And it's kind of scary when you start to think about it. That's what they're planning in wherever they go. Now, this is part of what's called the hijra. They move into your country, and then they do what they can to take over by outpopulating it. It sounds unbelievably. It's hard to accept. I should say that it's hard to accept as real when you start to think about this. But that is part of what it's an actual doctrine in Islam, that you have to move to another country to commit acts of war. Well, that makes sense if you think about it, because you don't want to commit war in your own backyard. Right. So they actually have a doctrine called Hijra where they move to another country, they try to subjugate it, and then, if they get enough people, they rise up and commit acts of jihad. If they take enough people with them in the thousands, which we're seeing in Europe, it's that much faster.
Paul, isn't Sharia the opposite or anathema to our Constitution? And doesn't a politician who wins a congressional seat have to swear to uphold the Constitution? How come that is not being enforced, and what will it take to enforce that law?
Oh, whoa, those are good important questions. Yes, it is impossible for a Muslim to swear to enforce the Constitution. However, again, following their belief in taqiyya, that they can lie for the purpose of promoting Islam.
Right.
This they will swear openly. Now, because they don't have to swear on a Bible or like they would have had to back in the early 1800s when there were no Muslims here. There were no Muslims until the 1870s here in the United States. It's important to understand. We're in trouble because we didn't plan for the Muslims to come here. We had no thoughts about Muslims coming here. In fact, they were the first enemy of the United States. We're in trouble because we have an enemy within the United States called the Communist Democrats. Basically, they call themselves the Socialist Democrats because they don't want you to think of them as communists.
The Communist Party USA.
Yep.
Yeah, remember, Obama was the first president to run on the communist ticket. Okay, and he, you have to give your own approval to run on a party platform, and that's how he was on that. He was on the communist ticket,
Right.
and he got elected.
Yeah.
See, that's illegal.
Well, it's not illegal to be part of the Communist Party. It would have been decades ago, but not now.
No, I mean to hold office in our government.
Well,
I'm not following you.
it's all right. Paul, listen. Here's the thing. They're outbreeding us, and it seems like the government is putting things into place in order to persuade us not to breed. You know what I mean? Like 700 genders. You got gender neutral this. You got let's teach the kids that they might be gay. This kind of stuff is also important, isn't it? To realize that the Muslims are not going to follow that type of rhetoric in the United States of America, and they probably see that as a valuable weapon.
They probably see this as I think the Democrats and the Muslims work together for a couple different reasons, and I think we have to go back and look at the Democrats as if they're commies and think about what is the history of communism and anti-Semitism. And the commie Stalin, he actually promised a Nazi German foreign minister that he would get rid of the Jewish domination. We got Marxist Leninism, who actually said things like, one of you asked if your political campaign can be regarded as anti-Semitic. Comrade Stalin said, we hate Nazis not because they are German, but because they brought enormous suffering to our land. Same can be said about the Jews. This was said by Lenin. Said by Stalin. Said that.
Right.
I mean, going on, there's just so much that Stalin and Lenin did that was anti-Semitic. The Bolsheviks were anti-Semitic even before they took over Russia. And this is now the thought process of the Democratic Party. They can't come out and say we hate blacks anymore, which is, again, they were the party of the slavery. They're the party of hate. is the way to look at it. That's what they were. They were the party of the slavery. So they can't openly hate black people anymore. So now they're openly hating Jewish people. And
it's accepted.
Saying you can be anti-Zionist and not be anti-Semitic, they're trying to say. Well, see, now that's kind of contradictory because the only country in the world that is Jewish is Israel. So they're saying, well, we'll take a stand against Israel. Well, excuse me, that is an ally of the United States. That should be an illegal stand for any American official.
Yes.
I don't care if you're a mayor or, again, that is an ally of this country. For an American official of any variety, of any government official to be able to take a stand against the country that is considered an ally of the United States, it should be an illegal statement.
Hey, Paul.
It's one thing for you to express it openly.
Paul, we only have 30 seconds left to go, so I want you to be able to get your information out to everybody. Tell everybody where they go and check you out, sir.
You can catch me at paulsutliff.com or go to Facebook, join the group Civilization Jihad Awareness, and you can catch my show on Blog Talk Radio on Thursdays at 6 o'clock.
And for everybody out there listening, I will post Civilization Jihad Awareness's page on our Facebook page, so you can go and just click it right there. Thank you, Paul. Listen, everybody, God bless. We're going to come back. We're talking about an illegal alien sentenced to 12 years for murder and rape. Can't believe it. FOD.
And you
Oh, yeah. They definitely think I'm crazy. I used to rock out to this song when I was a kid. The Destroyer album. Great album. Listen. Oh, this story sucks. I'm telling you, this country is going to hell in a handbasket. 2 illegal alien pieces of garbage received prison sentences of 12 to 20 years. One for killing a young couple in a sanctuary city, a liberal dump hole. My words, not this article. By the way, this is coming from Breitbart. And another for raping a 12-year-old little girl. The Angel family of 34-year-old Logan Wilson and his wife, 32-year-old Jessica Wilson, is outraged after an illegal alien was sentenced to just 12 years in prison after killing the young couple in a drunk driving crash in August of 2018 in the sanctuary city of Marion County, Oregon. Yeah. Weeks ago, illegal alien Enduro and D. La Lima Vargas from Mexico received a sentence of 12 years after killing the Wilsons, leaving their 3 young children, now without parents. That's wonderful. In a drunk driving crash where the couple's motorcycle was wedged under an illegal alien's pickup truck. From Breitbart News, according to the prosecutors, Lima Vargas was driving with a blood alcohol level of 0.10%. when he hit and killed Logan and Jessica Wilson. In interviews with the Statement Journal, last month the family expressed the dissatisfaction in the sentencing of Lima Vargas. In a separate case last month ended with an illegal alien convicted of raping a 12-year-old Mississippi girl, received a sentence of 20 years, the minimum sentence for statutory rape of a child in the state. Valentin Aristo Alfonso Aguelo, a 38-year-old piece of trash illegal alien, received just 20 years in prison, with 8 years suspended for coercing a 12-year-old girl into giving him her phone number, then raping her in his truck after getting off work. It's wonderful. You know, first of all, let's talk about the couple, the married couple that was on their motorcycle and got plowed over by this scumbag with .10. I'll tell you something, Brian. Once in a while, I'll read the East Hampton Star, the Southampton Press out here on the East End of Long Island.
Yep.
And I like to go to the police blotter and check out all the drunks in East Hampton and Southampton to get pulled over for drinking and driving.
Yep.
And a lot of the times, their last names are Vargas or Emmanuel Lopez, and you know damn well it's the illegals out there driving drunk all the time. It seems to be part of their culture.
It is part of their culture. I mean, you know, they're very much misogynist. They treat women like crap. I mean, look at. Have you ever watched Spanish TV, like Mexican TV, the news? Why are the weather girls? Why are they in like the most skimpiest outfits ever?
Yes, on Telemundo.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's part of their culture. It's what they're womenizers and they're drunks, and they like it that way, you know. And they come here, and you know, our culture is very much different than that. Not saying that we don't have those type of people here, but you know, you look at our driving laws, you know, 0.05, and you're driving while ability impaired. 0.08, and you're driving while intoxicated. You know, there's two different laws here in New York, and there's many other states that have degrees of intoxication, like New York, where you know you might not be as drunk as 0.08, and you still get a charge. You know, they drive that way, dude. I go into 7-Eleven or Schmitz or whoever, Cittarella's, and these guys are bringing out 12 packs.
Yes, in the morning.
I mean, yeah.
I know.
You know, or at lunch.
I know.
I mean, I seen one. The guys, they were in like almost like a moving van, and they came out and they didn't have a 6-pack. They didn't have a 12-pack. They had an 18-pack at a 7-Eleven.
Right.
I was like, man, that's a good lunch.
And CV up in Nassau County, where in your neck of the woods, there's The MS-13 problem's getting out of control. There was just some more deaths over the week.
I'm in Suffolk County.
Oh, you are in Suffolk. I'm sorry.
No. Don't apologize. It's okay.
He's close to Nassau.
You're so because Chet lives in Southampton, so
Right.
he's way out east, and I'm kind of like in the middle of Long Island.
Right.
But anyway, I love how the lefties say, you don't want illegals to come in because they commit crimes, but legal, normal American citizens commit violent crimes too. No, but you don't understand. The illegals commit a disproportionate amount of crimes per capita.
Right.
And there's no excuse for that.
Compared to the population of illegals to American citizens.
Right. And once you send a message to illegal immigrants that it's okay to be illegal immigrants and still reap rewards and welfare and benefits in our country, then they think any illegal act that they commit is okay also.
Correct.
Yeah, but it's how they grow up. I mean, you got to think about growing up in a country where, the cartels are very much infiltrated into the government officials are paid off. They actually have
the police too.
Yeah. And they actually have a saying, I don't know how to say it in Spanish, but it's basically you get take the gold or take the lead.
Right.
You're going to take the money or get shot.
Right.
Basically. And, and it's crazy. But that's how they grew up. They grew up in a very lawless society, where robbery and crime is probably an everyday occurrence. You don't chain up your bicycle to the pipe that's locked
like
down and cemented in.
It's like
gone.
It's like the wild west.
And it's like and it's like when you say these things, and what you're saying is absolutely true. The left immediately, oh, you're a racist. How can you say that? The facts are what the facts are. You have to talk about it.
Yeah. When's the last time Nancy Pelosi was in Mexico City?
Yeah. Well, why doesn't Nancy
without armed guards?
Why doesn't Nancy bring him into her home? We've seen it when Laura Loomer went to her house and they protested to let the illegal aliens into the yard. And they actually got in there with a tent. And they were actual illegals with her. And they went knocking on the door. Nancy didn't want to answer to them. I thought she was such an understanding woman.
My wife accused us of, categorizing whole demographics as like one thing. Like all Islam are terrorists and all Mexicans are illegals. And I said, no, I said, you're the one who's painting people with a broad brush here. We like legal immigrants, and legal Mexicans who come in here are actually patriots.
Your wife listens to the show?
No, she just gets she's like, she doesn't know what she is.
She gets the bits and clips?
She's apolitical, and she doesn't get it. She doesn't like Donald Trump either.
Well,
that's all right.
I can't believe she's married to you. That is just wild.
Well, they said it wouldn't last, and it's not. It's not going to last very long.
You're in too deep now, buddy.
Listen.
Women out there, you can email me at. No, just kidding.
Listen, we're going to come back. We're talking about. Well, actually, we're having Matt Margolis on. I'm sorry. Come back to FOD. Welcome back to Freedom on Deck, 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk. You're rocking with the best, Chet Martin, Brian Bro, CV Burton, all at the helm. Listen, go to freedomondeck.com. Check out everything we have to offer for you there. End of the week podcast now on Friday nights where we're unfiltered, unlike on terrestrial radio. We got the backtracks there. We got updated news. We've got all the contributors there, including Alex Newman from the New American Magazine. And he puts out fantastic stuff. You want to go. Also Julio Rivera, Lee Elsie. All the big names. Go to freedomondeck.com. So coming on today's program is the author of The Scandalous Presidency of Barack Obama and the bestseller, The Worst President in History, The Legacy of Barack Obama, also a contributor for PJ Media, Mr. Matt Margolis. Matt, how's it going, brother?
It's going well. Thanks for having me on again.
Well, we love having you on. So the new book is being released on July 30th, titled "Trumping Obama: How President Trump Saved Us from Barack Obama's Legacy." When did you decide to start writing this book? Was this started by you when he really started to make some policy change, Matt?
Well, I would say that the real start was when my publisher asked me if I was going to start another book. And I'm like, well, I don't know. And then I was like, well, what could I do? And yeah, it basically came down to like, what's important right now? What's the story that needs to be said that no one else is talking about? So, and since apparently I'm the now expert on Obama, it seemed appropriate for me to talk about all the ways that Trump had started dismantling the legacy that Obama left. And I saw it as a necessary book to really talk to, in particular, the Never Trumpers that felt that it was a bad idea for him to have run for president and still kind of poo-poo him every time that they get. And I want them to read the book and see that he has been a champion of conservative causes, and I think that's something that they really need to start looking at and understanding and get on board.
Matt, that's a great point. And I still hear some of these Never Trumpers out there, and they still don't want to give the man credit. What is it? Is it his personality? Is it just that they can't admit that they were wrong? Why did they continue down this path of denying the success of this president?
I mean, part of me thinks that it's just that they put all their chips on Trump's really, a closet liberal, and they can't seem to. They don't want to admit that they were wrong, so they kind of just have to keep going with it. Because, I mean, Trump's style, not everyone's a big fan of it. I certainly feel like sometimes he goes a little bit beyond my comfort zone. But I can't deny the fact that he's been effective at doing things for the conservative movement that other Republican presidents have just not been able to do.
We have Matt Margolis, author, with us. Matt, the more President Trump succeeds with our economy, job growth, militarily, i.e. defeating ISIS, the angrier the left becomes. Why do you think they have such disdain for this man and his America First agenda? The economy's up. They should be happy about this, Matt.
If there's one thing I've learned about Democrats is that if America's doing well, they're not happy. It's true, though.
I know.
I mean, if you think, when you look at it, for them, America is at its best when the people are dependent on the government. Yeah. And Trump has been going about it as trying to free them from those economic shackles. The way that the economy has turned since he was elected. It tells you all you need to know. And at every moment they get, that they find ways to say that this is a bad thing, that it's not really that good. And we saw similar stuff with, in the Obama years and in the Bush years, when things were going well during the Bush years, they kept saying that things were really bad, and they kept also elevating or exaggerating the positives under Barack Obama. Even though what was really happening under Obama was that people were earning less, they were working less, and more people. There was record poverty, low wages. All that's turned around now. And if they really supported America and American prosperity, they'd be happy, but they're not.
Matt, President Trump has reached a deal with Mexico so far as what we're seeing. And he threatened with tariffs, which received criticism by both sides of the aisle. How is it that this brash businessman rose to power in his presidency and is proving these career politicians wrong every step of the way? How does he do it?
I think what he brought to the table is experience in the private sector, which he's now applying in his position as president of the United States, and we're seeing that it's effective. I think that if we've learned anything, is that the old ways of doing things wasn't working. How many times? As Trump has said, that this has been a problem of presidents on both sides of the aisle, that they just various problems that they haven't fixed, and he's actually doing something to fix them. And maybe that's the problem politicians aren't really interested in fixing problems. They're interested in keep perpetuating them to keep them to give them something to do. I don't know.
We've got Matt Margolis. He's the author of The Worst President in History, The Legacy of Barack Obama, and that's a bestseller, and it's actually still selling. Now, Matt, Joe Biden, I want to turn to him. He's turned into Pandering Joe after he flip-flopped on the Hyde Amendment. You know, longtime Biden supporters are saying that this all happened so fast. Could this end up costing him in the long run?
You know, it's a very interesting question, and I just wrote about this on PJ Media. I feel that you know, Biden, the media has been presenting Biden as the centrist alternative of the Democratic clown card that is the 2020 hopeful nominees.
Yeah, the 300 candidates.
Yeah, 301 I think as of yesterday. But so when he said that he still supported it was interesting because my first thought was, okay, he's still trying to work that angle. I don't know if it's going to really please the base. I mean, the base of the party are the people that are going to be voting in the primaries. So I'm not sure how this is going to work. But in a way, I feel like his flip-flop and the way that it happened is going to hurt him more than help him. Because, let's look back to 2004 when John Kerry was running for president. He would say different things on different days. And there was actually like people talking about how with clips. Here's something that he said on Monday, and then here's a totally opposite thing he said on Tuesday. And I can remember the saying was that maybe you don't like George W. Bush, but you know what he believes.
Right.
With John Kerry, you had no idea, and I think that Joe Biden is becoming the John Kerry of this election. It's
a good comparison, and Matt, the Hyde Amendment. It's not only the fact that he backed this for over 30 years. It was just Wednesday, and they have video of it. Anybody can go look at it, and this, I don't know who the woman was, but she asked him, are you still behind the Hyde Amendment? He means, oh yeah, yes, absolutely. And then he comes out and he flip-flops. I mean, what kind of president would that make?
That's exactly the point. And it's like, why are diehard liberals why should they trust him? I mean, are they really going to put their faith in him? Just because his electability right now is clearly based on his perceived electability right now is based on his name recognition. But in the end, when he's going toe to toe with these guys in the debates, I think that that the narrative is going to be that you don't know what he really believes because he's just telling whatever audience what they want to hear at any given time. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next coming months with when the debates start. And it looks like he's starting to have a little bit of a dip in the polls now. So we'll see.
We have Matt Margolis on with us. He's a contributor to PJ Media, has written many a good book. For everybody out there, if you just Google Matt, you'll find everything you have to offer. His articles from PJ Media, his Twitter, which he's very popular on, and you should go follow him. He updates everything for you all along the way. I follow him. I'm able to look at all his articles and read them, and they're a great read. So, Matt, you recently wrote a piece detailing the media's assertion that Biden is leading Trump in some polling. What's your take on those polls? Because, it was Hillary Clinton that 99% was going to be the next president of the United States.
Exactly. The big story that we've heard this week was that Biden is beating Trump in Texas by allegedly about 4 points. And, we heard in 2016 similar stories that all of a sudden Texas was becoming competitive. And, back then, I admit this, that I was not on the Trump train. I was not a supporter. I had backed Ted Cruz in the primaries. But,
so did I.
So for the longest time, I was just convinced that Trump was just a bad idea for the Republican Party to get behind. And, polls like that really convinced me that, we were just going to get slaughtered that November. But that didn't happen. The polls were wrong, very wrong. For how long were we basically saying that Hillary Clinton was a shoo-in and that the election was just a formality? So I'm not going to sit here and say that there's nothing to be concerned about with some of these polls. I mean, I definitely think that just like the last time, we are seeing trends that suggest that Texas is starting to shift towards in the blue. That does not mean that Texas is going to go for the Democrat in 2020, but there's definitely demographic shifts in that state that we should be concerned about as Republicans, because if we lose Texas, we're in really bad shape in future presidential elections.
Matt, is that because of illegal immigration? I'm just going to say it. Is that why?
I think that's a huge part of it. If you've ever seen like the county maps of red blue for the 2016 election or even the 2018 midterms,
yeah,
you see a line of blue counties right along the border.
Right. So they're voting.
I think I think as much as they deny it, I think we know that the issue of illegal immigration for the Democrats is all about the votes.
And there's the problem of Connecticut and New Yorkers moving to conservative states and bringing their liberal politics with them, isn't there?
Yep, and as someone who grew up in Massachusetts, we saw Massachusetts liberals going up to New Hampshire and Maine did the same thing.
And totally destroys the state. Now, I wanted to ask you, so with all the successes that President Trump has achieved, are there any real challengers from the 300 candidates running on the Democrat side of the aisle? Anybody that you see that you say, you know what, he might be tough? For example, the big golden calf right now for the left is Pete, I can't say his name, Pete Buttigieg. I think I'm saying that right. Pete Buttigieg. What do you think there's anybody that's going to kind of rise like Barack Obama?
I don't see anyone having the same kind of meteoric rise of that Obama did, but I do think that what we're going to see. I don't think that Biden is going to be the nominee. I just don't. I think that the Democrats are going to try and identity politics is going to define who they nominate, and I think that whether it's a woman, or a minority, or a homosexual candidate, whatever you want to call it, they're going to come with some mix of, some sort of a balanced ticket to that's really going to hit hard with the identity politics that means so much to them. And I think that we're seeing Mayor Pete showing some good, strong polling in some of the important states right now. And I think that it has everything to do with the fact that the key, quote unquote, civil rights issue of the Democrats right now is gay rights. Yeah. And I think being a gay man makes Mayor Pete kind of become the symbol of that. And just in the same way that in 2008, it was important for Democrats to say, we're ready to elect a black man, so we're gonna support Barack Obama. Yeah. And and then in 2016 it was all about now it's Hillary's turn, we're going to be the ones that elect a woman. So I think that perhaps after Hillary's defeat they might be a little bit cautious about putting a woman on the ticket, or at least on the top of that ticket, but that they might feel that the message they want to send is that we're the party for the LGBT crowd. And so maybe I think I would almost bet money now that Pete Buttigieg is going to be on the ticket somewhere.
All right, everybody, that was Matt Margolis. Go check him out. He's the worst president in history. We're going to come back. We've got 7 Republicans that voted for amnesty. We're talking about that. This is FOD. Welcome back to Freedom on Deck, 94.9 News Now and stimulating talk. You're rocking with the best as always. Listen, this is the quick segment of the show. There were 7 Republicans in the House that broke with their colleagues by voting for an amnesty bill Tuesday. I don't know if you guys heard about this. It would grant protection from deportation to illegal immigrants to give millions a path to permanent citizenship and their status. So the 7 Republicans were Nebraska Rep. Don Bacon. No, I'm not making that last name up. It's not Don Sausage. Florida Rep. Mario Diaz-Balart. Pennsylvania Rep. Brian Fitzpatrick. Texas Rep. Will Hurd. All right, I had to say it. Washington Rep. Dan Newhouse. New Jersey Rep. Chris Smith. And Michigan Rep. Fred Upton. Not that you're their constituents, but you should know who they are. So this is the American Dream and Promise Act. It was passed in the House with a vote of 236 to 187. They would have won without the Republican help. But the fact of the matter is, guys, it's pretty low for them to go over to that side of the aisle and vote on this bill.
Well, you got to realize,
on this bill.
Well, there are rhinos and dinos, and there are globalists that are on both sides of the aisle. And I think, this was proof that they reared their ugly head. I think that there are people that believe in open borders, believe in, that you just got to let everybody into your country and end up like, I don't know, Europe, where women are afraid to walk the streets in the daytime because they might get raped. You had 2 lesbians in London that were assaulted because they would not make out for a bunch of Muslim scumbags.
No, it's just men.
Yeah, just men.
Just men on the bus.
And they were beat up and they were bloodied.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Okay, so that's what they want to bring here. That's what these 7 Republicans represent. Scumbags that want to destroy this country.
It's to lock it to a one-party system so that from now on, 20 to 30 years down the line, you'll never have another Republican president.
Yeah. The thing with the Democrats is they're conformists. They like to all hang together. None of them have an original thought of their own. And our Republican Party is divided where we believe in individualism. On the other hand, these 7 here aren't even real Republicans. They're bought and sold by the globalists. And, the lobbyists have them wrapped around their little finger. And they don't really have a soul, and they don't really stand for anything.
How much?
Just like the Democrats.
How much did they receive from Soros?
That's a good question. How much did they receive from the DNC?
Probably plenty.
The bottom line is, CV's right. These are they're not even rhinos. They're just trash. They don't represent their constituents.
Not at all.
They don't care. They're bought and paid for. They care more about the almighty dollar than protecting the American citizens, which is what you're supposed to run on.
Yeah. I think Nancy Pelosi gets like $130,000 a year salary, and she lives in a big fat mansion. She has more money than she knows what to do with, and a lot of these politicians are getting rich off the system.
We need to arrest him. Forget impeaching him. We need to arrest him.
We need to arrest you. Get some polygrip and put those dentures back in right.
Check out the video I put up on my Facebook of her.
I'll check it out. Check out your Facebook. I can't even get on Facebook. Listen, come back. We're talking about old Lizzie Warren Pocahontas. She said climate change is a bigger threat than World War II and the Nazis. Oh, Pokey, you're so cray-cray. Come on back to FOD.
This truck needs a half tank. These wheels need a 2-lane. This radio needs 3 songs to play to get me across town to you.
Not 3 songs, 3 letters, FOD, Freedom on Deck, 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk, 3 to 5 p.m., rocking with the best. That's right. There's nothing like Freedom on Deck.
Nope.
Nothing. You're not going to find it anywhere else. It's a unique brand. Speaking of branding, I came up with a new... Well, me and Brian kind of came up with a new terminology for Melania. And it's FLILF.
She's the first American FLILF.
She is the first American FLILF.
We'll let the audience figure out what that
and
means.
you can figure that out. Everybody knows what MILF is. So now you have to decipher what FLILF is. I mean, most of you know what MILF is.
Okay, you don't have to over-explain it.
And then they have FILF, which is a dad. Or DILF, I think.
DILF.
It's DILF. But then now we have FLILF. So that's something good.
Who doesn't like a little FLILF? That little extra FLILF.
Everybody likes a little extra FLILF. I mean, that's...
What's Ivanka then?
So listen, we're talking about... That's DILF. Well, the daughter. That's DILF. Daughter.
It's Fidelf.
All right.
I think we're unhinged.
Well, what's Trump? He's PILF.
Oh man!
All right, so let me get Brian.
Not for me.
Let me get Brian on this audio. This is okay. Elizabeth Pocahontas warned, comparing D-Day invasion to the fight against Nazi Germany to the climate change hoax. Let's get a little bit of that going, Brian.
I'm excited to be here to talk about this, and I'll tell you why. America's faced huge challenges before. World War II. Put a man on the moon. This environmental catastrophe bearing down on us may be the biggest challenge yet. But how do we beat it? How do we beat it? We do it. What we've always done as Americans. We invest in science, in innovation, and in American workers. That's what we're about.
Yeah.
All right, so she okay. We had a discussion before we started this topic, and Brian kind of has a different take on this. My problem is the media is mischaracterizing what she said. Okay, but
a little bit. They're fanning the flames. She did say something that was very insensitive.
It's insensitive for me.
Absolutely.
Because we all have members of our family that fought in World War II.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
So she's comparing a fake climate change narrative to fighting the Nazis. She said World War II.
Correct.
Elizabeth Warren is, as I was just playing with our little soundboard there, cuckoo.
Well, the part that gets me is that, and this is the part that gets me upset about it. I get what you're saying with the World War II. It's that she actually takes it a step further and says this may be our biggest challenge yet. So now she's saying that it's bigger than 62 million people losing their lives. It's bigger than more than 2 million Jews losing their lives in furnaces and gas chambers.
Wasn't it 6 million?
I'm sorry, 6 million.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's where she oversteps it. To say that this country has had faced challenges and say, hey, World War II, man on the moon, okay, yeah, we have faced challenges. But as soon as she said, this may be our biggest yet, now you're taking it.
Because it can't be the biggest yet. It's the same thing that Ocasio-Cortez was saying. In 12 years, if we don't act now, we'll be gone.
Right.
With what scientific facts, Alexandria?
Yeah.
What? Your Green New Deal was a sham. Your own party didn't want to vote for it because they knew it was ridiculous. But here it's amazing that they won't vote for AOC's Green New Deal, yet they go up in front on the pedestal and they talk about how climate change is a bigger problem than the Nazis were.
They are so confused about this whole entire topic. First, they used to call it global warming, and when that was found to be a lie, they started calling it climate change. Yeah, we have 4 seasons a year, and people get killed by tornadoes normally. But what they don't seem to address is the fact that we are currently in the last ice age, which is called the Quaternary glaciation, and we are in an interglacial period of that ice age where it gets a little warmer, and that's called the Holocene period that we happen to be in. So if we're in an ice age, you should expect it to get a little warmer, and if we come out of the interglacial period, you should expect it to get a little colder. These people don't even address that issue.
Well, in the 70s, CV, it was we're going through an ice age.
Yeah, it was global cooling.
And it was Al Gore that came, he created the internet, and then he said in 20 years, and this was back in 1994, 95, New York will be completely underwater. Well, that didn't happen. It's all manufactured fake science. None of it's real. Michael Savage, who's heard on this station, every day he talks about the Volskor ice caps, right?
Yeah.
And what they did in Russia, and when they tunneled down, I forgot how many miles it was. Very deep, very deep. And that the comparisons that they made between modern day and what happened in the Ice Age, there's no difference.
Right.
It's the same. We are not warming. We're cooling.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. What CV just said, but the science is actually there. And if you actually look into people like Steve Gorham, who we've had on the show, listen, if you're out there and you're a liberal and you believe in climate change and global warming, God bless you. But why not look on the other side and see what the argument is?
Listen, I can explain this in 2 seconds, man. Earth is a big rock, iron ore. That's what the core of this Earth is, iron ore.
Iron or what?
Have you guys seen what iron ore does when it's pulled out of its heat source? What does it do?
Gets solidified.
And it does what? Cools down.
Right.
Okay? Without a heat source on that iron, it does not have that potential energy, that kinetic energy. You get what I'm saying? So if our core is iron ore, it's cooling. It has to be cooling. Now, obviously, it is humongous, so it's going to take quite a while, and it has a very big mantle that insulates it, so it doesn't cool down as quickly as as other planets that don't have that.
But also, the current ice age that we are in started 2.5 million years ago. You would think that we would warm up and get out of it. There are actual benefits to a warmer planet. There are benefits to it.
Well, but,
more crops.
Well, I mean, we also have
more
the sun
food
that heats us externally too. But you get what I'm saying. I mean, it's crazy that this notion that in 12 years, really, you're a jackass.
Did you also hear Alexandria Cortez? She was talking about vegetables.
And I don't want to. That girl should not be talking about vegetables.
You better shut your mouth before I shut it for you.
She was talking about.
She said cauliflower is
cauliflower. She said it's colonial. The cauliflower.
What's wrong with colonial anyway?
And what we should be growing is the yucca, because the yucca grows in a tropical climate, and the cauliflower, which is greatly racist. It's white. First of all, it's white.
She does realize that they have green cauliflower and purple cauliflower. And
no, but this is the serious thing. Savage was playing it the other day, and he was like, turn it off. I can't with this one anymore. And I'm like, I'm almost falling out of my chair because it is, you hear her, and at first she kind of sounds okay, and then it goes into the weeds, right? She just goes off the Richter scale.
She must suck at golf.
She was talking about colonial crops. Who feeds her this crap? And this is the science. They try to, all of a sudden I have to listen to Alexandria Cortez or Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren and take their word for it. They're the scientists now. It's like Bill, what's his name? Nye the Science Guy. You ever seen him on Fox News? Mm-hmm. The guy that used to do that show?
No,
he's a big global warming enthusiast.
He's a lib.
And he's insane.
Big
and
time.
From what I understand, he has no background in science studies. Nothing.
She doesn't even understand that before the colonists came here, the indigenous people weren't so indigenous. They also colonized this area.
Well, she likes Indigenous Peoples Day.
And there's nothing so more righteous and noble about these peoples. The Mayans used to sacrifice virgins to their to their false gods, and the indigenous Americans, if you want to call them that, fought each other in bloodthirsty battles.
Oh yeah.
And scalped each other.
Oh yeah.
And also committed human sacrifice. That's why when Moses led the Hebrews into the promised land, he was getting rid of all these other nations that were committing the same things. And the prophet said that's because the land vomits out these people. They vomit out the people who commit human sacrifice.
Who invented the telephone? The European white man. Who invented the telegraph, the computer, the car,
airplanes,
diesel. I mean,
it wasn't a Muslim. It wasn't indigenous people. We're harmful to this nation. We built this nation. I'm sorry, it's the truth.
Right, give the Europeans some credit.
It's true
for once,
but it's just it's so ridiculous because. Think about it. Everything that we eat is a plant. It came from somewhere. Give me a break about cauliflower. Cauliflower came from somewhere. You know what I mean? The Indians here had corn. They introduced it to the colonialists.
They got corny.
It's like they got corny. Blueberries are North American fruit. So stupid.
It is stupid. Jeez. Oh man, we're going to come back and talk about another controversial topic. Ilhan Omar, she violated campaign finance rules. They're trying to cover her tracks, and part of it was to divorce her brother. That's right, I said it. Come on back to FOD. This is God's country. Man. Blake Shelton, I love him. You know, he's retiring from music. He's not doing music anymore.
Really?
He's done. I love him too, man.
If I had a wife like his, I'd retire too.
Yeah. Oh, I get
Stay
it.
home and spend a little time.
I'm gonna miss him. He puts out great music, man.
He's
good country artist.
I don't buy he's not going to be in the game. I think he's probably going to do more producing and
he's got the shows and all that. So he's very busy and
music's in you when you're in that business, man. It's just part of you.
He's a good conservative. It's got to be tough being in that industry, even as a country musician. Believe me, there are some libs in that country scene right now.
Oh yeah,
there are talking about we need to do more about gun violence, like some of the. I'm not going to mention the artists, but there are some out there that I don't support.
I wonder how Billy Ray Cyrus does it with his daughter, the way she is, man.
Disgusting,
dude. I don't know
what she did with that abortion cake.
Bro,
promo.
Yo,
that was disgusting. And did you see Sabo, the street artist, what he put out?
Oh yeah,
with her licking the fetus, the aborted fetus.
Yeah,
that hit the nail on the head.
Yep.
I appreciate Sabo. He's always been awesome. He does great work. All right, we're going to be talking about this. So, the Minnesota Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board said the first-term Congresswoman named Ilhan Omar must pay the state a $500 civil penalty for using campaign money to travel to Florida when she accepted an honorarium. Rep. Omar must personally reimburse the Omar Committee $3,469.23. The report concludes the reimbursement payment is the total amount of campaign funds that were used for purposes not permitted by the statute in 2016, which includes a divorce proceeding. Omar was reportedly married to another man from her first husband, which was Ahmad Hersi. Now, they say another man in this article. A man, Fox News. Her brother. Let's be clear. She was married to her brother. And the reason they did that was to get government aid And in order to, and this is what the Muslims do over here in the United States of America, folks. That's what they do. We were kind of talking about it with Paul Sutliff earlier. She got married to her brother in order to get documentation for him to enter the United States of America, and then they applied for all these different government loans.
Gaming the system.
Gaming the system. Now, this is a sitting congresswoman. They're going to fine her $3,000, another $500.
Yeah.
She should be locked up for this. All right, somebody go with it.
It's self-explanatory to me. I don't understand. I mean, obviously there's laws against this. I don't understand why. As a candidate, there isn't some sort of heavy vetting that goes into being a political candidate, or ultimately a congressman or a senator. You know, there should be some background checks done. They talk about background checks to buy a gun. Talk about background checks to whatever. You know what I mean? The list goes on as far as the government looking into your background in order to to do various things. To get a government job. Think about that.
Yeah.
To get a government job, to work in an airport. Okay.
As I was questioning,
Get a library card.
Yeah, I mean it's sick, but yet you could be, you could be from another country, you could immigrate here, you could marry your brother, you could do all these things, and nobody's looking into any of this, and then become a congressman.
All right, go ahead, CV.
No, I was saying as when I was questioning Paul Sutliff about the legality of somebody who is counter to our Constitution sitting in office in our government, and that includes communism. How could somebody who practices communism serve in our country, in our constitutional republic? But besides that, they were trying to hang Donald Trump for paying off that prostitute. What was her name?
Stormy
Daniels, sorry. And like as if that was some kind of impeachable offense, like using his own money and coming up with a deal that they both agreed to is somehow finance reform corruption.
She had a tough year, by the way.
And it wasn't.
Stormy.
And this is like so flagrantly illegal, and she'll skate, she'll pay the fine, and nobody cares.
Well, she's a Democrat, and also Rash Tlaib came out and said the fact that they're even questioning her campaign finance is Islamophobic. Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's what it is now. They always have the go-to excuse. It's racist. It's Islamophobic. It's xenophobic. No. It's you want
criminal-phobic.
And listen.
I'm afraid of anti-constitutionalists.
And talk about what, Stormy Daniels, you're bringing up Stormy Daniels. What a fraud she was. I mean, look at what happened. Now she had to pay all Donald Trump's legal fees because she lied. By the way, she admitted that they didn't have sexual intercourse. Just so everybody understands, if you Google Stormy Daniels admitting that her and President Trump never had sexual intercourse, you will come up verbatim with her words piece by piece in ABC News, CBS, Fox News, CNN, the whole nine. Now, of course, they poo-poo it and say, well, she was forced into saying that. Now, and then the porn lawyer ends up ripping her off because he got a hold of her book rights and had all the money filtered into his lawyer practice. Right? You heard about this, right?
It's awesome. You know what it is?
And remember, CNN was
karma.
like, oh, he's going to be the next presidential candidate for the Democrat Party. The porn lawyer.
It's karma. You want to lie? You want to extort the president of the United States? That's basically what she did. She there was this story, and the president said, hey, look, I don't want this to, this is going to be bad for my campaign, even though this didn't happen. Let me just shut this person up, da-da-da-da-da. And that's basically what happened. and she admitted it. And then what happened? Karma hit you. Not only did you have to pay back the $130,000 in legal fees, but your lawyer ripped you off. It's awesome.
And the thing about Ilhan Omar, aside from her marrying her brother, what she's doing in Minnesota right now is absolutely disgusting. To go out in front of CARE, the terrorist organization, and to make a speech basically downgrading the 9/11 terrorist attacks, and also saying to raise hell in America if you're a Muslim. Go raise hell. And then a couple weeks later, that little boy gets thrown off the third balcony at the Mall of America. I'm not letting that go, by the way. That guy got 19 years. Yep. That piece of junk. I hope somebody's waiting for him outside of the incarceration facility when he gets out, and I hope they have something that can cause damage.
Well, one of the other things that pops into my mind about Ilhan Omar is, remember that it was her state that on April 12th, the feds did not want to pursue the whole gender mutilation thing that was going on in Minnesota. And then it was her district and her constituents that ultimately had contributions to really not doing anything within the state. Yeah. And I'm sure that she had something to do with it or influence, because that's the culture that she comes from.
As the good book says, Edith, let no man be deceived, but that everyone should reap what they sow.
Archie, why are you talking about Edith that way?
Listen, ending the show, we always hang our hats on everything that the fallen warriors in this country have done for us. We thank you so very much. For those that participated in the invasion on the storming of the beaches of Normandy, we're with you. We love you. You are the most important, and we wouldn't be here without you. So next week, we're definitely doing the podcast Friday night, FOD Overdrive, 9 p.m. on FreedomOnDeck.com and Facebook. We're not sure about the terrestrial because I have to be doing some baseball stuff with my kids, but we're in discussions to possibly put the podcast on Sunday on the radio too. So we'll figure that out. We'll let you know on social media. Everybody have an awesome weekend. Don't forget those men that stormed those beaches for your freedom. Good day.